Hey guys, Sable Duo Gaming here, and so I thought it's finally time I tell you all of the scariest thing to ever happen in my entire life. I tried to make this video a long time ago, but for some odd reason it didn't upload. And the next day when I tried to re-upload it again, all my files were mysteriously gone, and I didn't have my story saved anymore. So I thought of this as a sign and gave up on it. But now I'm swallowing my fear here for you guys to retell the tale of the Rugrats Time Travelers game for the Game Boy Color. So it all started a long time ago when I was really young, and my brother wanted to introduce me to the wonderful world of video games. He let me play his old Game Boy, and I played it for a long time. I loved it. All the games I played for it were awesome, but I did find them in like random drawers in the house, like Tetris, Pokemon Blue, Brick Breaker, A Bug's Life game, NASCAR, and lastly Rugrats Time Travelers. I honestly didn't know where any of these games came from. I just assumed that they were my brother's games that he stashed away from like a long time ago for safekeeping. But I never really found out for sure. But in all honesty, I never really cared. All I knew was that I found some fun games around the house, and I was thrilled to play them. Among them, as I mentioned, it was Rugrats Time Travelers. I remembered that I used to spend the most time on that game, and I loved it. But oddly enough, I can't remember a single thing. I can't even remember a single thing about the game, even though I'm confident that I played many hours on it, and it was for a long time one of my favorite games. But then again, I did play it when I was little, so there's that. It made sense. But like all games, like all good games, they must come to an end eventually. No one can play the same game forever, so everyone will get tired of it after a while and put it away somewhere to only come back many years later, and that's exactly what happened. I had put away my Game Boy Color and my Rugrats Time Travelers game. I put it away in a closet for a long time, and now I'm older right now, yep, and it's been many years, and I wanted to go back and replay a little of my childhood games, to go back and relive the nostalgia, for fun. But in the end, that was my biggest mistake. Surprisingly, something as harmless as that became a grave mistake. A fatal error, if you will. So, I went into my closet and got my old Game Boy and Rugrats game. I loaded up the game. It ran perfectly. I played the first level as Chucky in the Toy Palace. Right off the bat, I knew something was wrong. Even though I only had a vague memory of the game, I knew that Chucky wasn't supposed to stare at you at all times. Even when climbing ladders and fighting enemies, his head and eyes were constantly fixated at me. Just to make sure, I looked up some gameplay for reference on the internet, and I was right. The Chucky in my game was behaving way differently than the Chucky in other games that I saw online. I thought it was maybe that my game was just like an older version or something that I didn't see on the internet, so I shrugged it off. I eventually got to a part in the Toy Palace, where it seems like I was boxed in. There was no way to get out or anything. So I decided to restart the game, like that's what you would do, and retry from the beginning. But for a split second, I saw something different before the game turned off. I saw Chucky's eyes blackened and his mouth opened as if screaming, and some text was scribbled in red over his head. I didn't have enough time to read it because it was only for a second, but I thought that was weird. I honestly at the time thought it could have been my eyes just playing tricks on me, like, for a second. But I don't think that was the case now, coming back to it. After I restarted the game, the level was way different. There were no obstacles, there were no enemies, just long emptiness. You could walk forward and backward, and nowhere else. You can't walk backward from the start, though. You could just go forward. I'm so naive. I actually got excited for a second. Like, I thought that maybe I had a glitched copy of the game, and that I could sell it for lots of money. Because some people would kill for things like that. Like, how some people had, like, deformed amiibos and they would sell that. That would get some money. But I thought that's the case for this game, so I was a little bit excited at first. So, just so that I could find out everything that was wrong with the game, I continued to play it for my own profit. But that's when everything went wrong. I continued to play the game. The only thing I could do was walk down this long empty level. So I did. I continued. So I did for a while. And I noticed something else was off again. I noticed that 2 single red pixels under each eye of Chucky appeared. But I thought that was a little too obscure for me to think anything of it. So I just continued. And yet again, another weird thing happened. The background of the stage also got a slight red hue to it. And I still shrugged that off again because I didn't think that was anything too crazy. Like, it could have been a natural thing to the game. So I continued. But then, this is where it starts to go downhill. The red in the background gets redder and redder, and the red pixels under his eyes get longer and longer until it looks like Chucky is crying blood. This is when I started to get creeped out, but with my curiosity, I continued. I didn't think it was that bad. But all of a sudden, I couldn't move. Chucky, he was standing still. Then I heard the most god-awful sound. It sounded like a long mourn from a slow child. I immediately got chills down my spine, and I continued to look as slowly blood like red arrows appeared over Chucky's head again. It said, "Why have you forgotten? I've been alone for far too long. I'm hurting because of you." Then the floor beneath Chucky turns into hot lava, as what it looks like, and he starts to melt away into the lava. Then a rope fell from the ceiling into the lava, and it pulled Chucky out of the lava. He was now hanging from a noose, and it looked disturbing. His body was covered in black and dark red. He looked almost zombified, and his eyes were blacked out, dripping with blood, and the lava had turned into a solid shade of blood. At this point, the red text changed, and it said, "The long time of neglect have caused this. You did this to me. I'm this now." There's a big red bloody arrow pointed at Chucky. I immediately felt terrified at this. I tried to turn off the game, but it didn't work. And immediately a loud static played, louder than the speakers could even produce. It was ear-bustingly loud, with the faint mourning of that same slow child in the background. All of this seriously upset me, and I took out the batteries. The game instantly turned off. At the time, it was late, and I was super tired, so I just tried to forget what happened, like nothing had ever happened at all. And I went to bed. So I slept like a baby even after all that happened. But randomly, in the middle of the night, I saw bright red glow coming from my Game Boy in the darkness. I turned on the light and got up to see my Game Boy, the cause of the light. Even though the batteries were gone, the game was on again. This time, it was an extreme close-up on Chucky's disturbing face, with the same sounds playing as before, but 5 times louder. And loud static in the background. More red text appeared that said, "You will feel this pain I'm feeling. I'm going to do to you what you did to me." I was tired at this point, and I honestly didn't care. I was like, I don't care. And I proceeded to open up my window and throw the Game Boy out of my window, far, and I slammed the window. Hopefully it would leave. And even from there, even from in my room, with the Game Boy across my backyard, I could still faintly hear the loud sounds, but it was quite enough for me to fall asleep. So I shrugged it all off again, being so tired. I went back to sleep. Then all of a sudden, again, in the middle of the night, I woke up. And when I woke up, I woke up dead. I was murdered that night by the Game Boy game that I neglected, the Rugrats game. When my corpse was found, I was hanging from the ceiling of my room. My face was covered in blood. The blood was painted on my face in such a way that my face looked like Chucky from the game, but painted on in red. My hair was also spiky and blood-soaked. So it looks like Chucky's hair. This sight was the most disturbing sight of all. It scarred me for life, and now I'm here retailing the shocking night that I was murdered by the Rugrats game, the most terrifying moment of my entire life.